Hello and welcome to the Racers HQ podcast. I'm your host, Matt Murphy, and joining me on the line tonight, we've got returning co-stars, Pat Mulry and Nathan Adler. Pat, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you?
Oh man, couldn't be better. Nate?
Good. Excited to be upgraded to co-star. That feels special.
You know, I've lost it, man. We haven't done a pod in like 3 weeks, and so I don't have a clue what I'm doing here. We'll get back on the horse eventually, but
Tonight's definitely not a smorgasbord of assorted topics. It'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely not a smorgasbord of assorted topics.
This might not even make it out on the radio tonight.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Mulry, you've got some apple juice there. What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight is a Castle and Key small batch wheated bourbon.
I like this.
I'm a big fan of Castle and Key. Everything I've had from them is excellent. Their rye is very, very good, but tonight is the wheated bourbon.
Nice. So is that a post bourbon making process where they wheat the bourbon, or is it something to do with the recipe?
No, it has to do with the recipe. I think it's obviously since it's bourbon, it's at least 51% corn. But then I think for wheated bourbons, it's the second grain in the mash bill that is predominantly wheat before, and maybe even exclusively wheat. Sort of like how a high rye bourbon is a lot of rye as a secondary grain.
Nice. Nathan, what you got going on there?
I've got Heaven's Door single barrel cask strength.
Y'all are some
store pick. If you just want to go all in.
Fancy.
It is. It was good. Picked it up when I was visiting the family down in Houston. Specs Liquor Store down in Texas. Man, those guys got it figured out.
You guys are fancy boys. I'm rocking the 360 vodka. It's the only recycled vodka.
Oh no. No.
Recycled.
Recycled from what?
Yeah, don't worry about it. But they have they have one of those like mechanical pop tops, and it's great for making like limoncello, right? Things like that. So.
Oh, you mean like the top on like a Grolsch beer? Like one of those?
Like it's got a lever on it and stuff, and a seal. I mean, it's a nice bottle. So $10 for a bottle of vodka and you get a souvenir. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Wait, and that includes the cost of the contents of the bottle.
Yeah. Because it's recycled. Don't worry about it. Anyway, you guys got any garage updates?
How's your vision working? Do both eyes still function after drinking 360 vodka?
But I think I need bifocals.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway, that's a different topic. It's annoying though. Being an IT guy that needs bifocals, you're like, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen. Okay, yeah.
That's for our other Racers HQ podcast, Racers HQ Optometry Today.
Oh yeah, nice spinoff. Because we've got so many listeners right now. I really feel like we're not providing enough bespoke content for the optometrists. I guess that would be what, Hunter's wife, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet Dana's burning down the podcast wires when these come out. Hunter.
Not enough bandwidth.
A new Racers HQ Optometry Today came out.
Yeah.
I did want to mention tonight is actually the 1-year anniversary of our Wives and Girlfriends podcast, which was just Wives. But
nice.
Kaylin pointed out to me today. She re-listened to it and was reflected, quite positively on that time. So if you haven't heard that one, go back and get a listen to what our wives think about our stupid, expensive hobby and how they love to support us, even though they might not always understand why we love it.
The Wagcast is a fan favorite, that is for sure. So.
It was a very sweet episode.
Sweet, yeah. Well, great. Nathan, have you done anything in your garage or any motorsports related subtopics?
Not in my garage. I did give the Jeep dealer a bunch of money to fix the transfer case, and the new part immediately blew up and they had to replace it twice. But it only charged me for one, which is great. On the test drive, the brand new transfer case exploded and chucked the chain to the bottom of the pan. It was awesome. Anywho, that's not racing. Racing stuff, been doing some Barber prep, getting ready to go do 24 Hours of Lemons with Todd Spickard and the TARP. It's not Talone Corsa, but it's another TARP adjacent team.
TARP JV.
Is it JV? Okay, JV. Sure. Junior Tart.
MoneyGram Pro Visa JV
Yes.
Tarp Racing.
Oh my God. We'll get into F1. Lemons teams have so much better names than F1 teams. It's just, yeah. Anyhow, getting ready for Barber. Been doing a bunch of laps with you guys in the M4 GT4. And man, last time had a pretty big discovery. Was the way we were talking about the strategy for the race in real life, and it looks like I'm gonna have me and Pat are both gonna have to do some pretty fuel save aggressive stints. And so I was trying to practice with that, of trying to see how much fuel can I save and still like put out a respectable lap time. And I found out that intentionally lifting way early and braking just a little later to save fuel, I went the same lap time as like going as hard as I could. So I guess what I took from that was that I'm clearly overdriving the car and trying to do too much all at once and upsetting the balance or whatever. And I'm not really going any faster. Just taking that moment off, like giving myself more headspace at corner, at turn in and mid corner, and just really trying to roll more speed through the mid corner by braking less was beneficial. So I need to go back and look at the data to see exactly how it all shakes out, but I'm not totally shocked. That's kind of been a recurring theme for my driving, is that I tend to overslow and then really aggressively get on throttle at corner exit and just make it work. So it's interesting. It's been a good learning experience, and I'm excited to see how it translates to the real race, which forecast is looking super wet, so it may not matter whatsoever.
It's looking better now.
Oh, is it? Okay, good. It was showing 3 straight days of just downpour, which I was not thrilled about.
Yeah, no, I looked at it either late yesterday, early today, and now the forecast, we're still 10 days out, so I wouldn't, rely on this for packing, but the forecast at this point is like mid to low 60s as the highs, mid to upper 40s as the lows, and mostly cloudy, partly cloudy, but the rain percentages were like 10% and below.
Okay, that's way better.
Yeah, that'd be,
because I was like getting ready to pack waders and like heavy rubber boots and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's gonna be more like pack, some wintry clothes and maybe, throw a pair of shorts in there too. Because one thing I have noticed over the years is that like if it gets, in the mid 60s and sunny, it actually is, feels pretty warm.
Yeah.
So
especially if you're running around or whatever, running up and down the paddock, doing things, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to racing stuff. So Pat, you and I talked about kind of the same idea of doing the fuel save, because your stint is going to run into a similar issue. Have you had any fruit from that practice?
Well, mine was more, after you looked at your traces and noticed that, I went in the next night and did just about 8 or 10 laps by myself, and it really was remarkable seeing that, like, backing out the braking points, gliding in, like there was really, in fact, my lap times improved slightly by doing that, and I do wonder. I'm sure part of it is what you're saying, like, you're just slowing down the race for yourself a little bit by not being in such a rush to do everything. But I think part of it also from paying attention to the sound of what the tires is doing is I think maybe what I'm doing otherwise is overloading the front tires and, trying to force them to turn when they don't have enough grip, or when they're using that grip to slow down, they don't have, they're already at their limit and they can't turn. And by getting in there a little bit less aggressively, it's, giving the tire a little bit more ability to handle what you're going to throw at it. But like you said, then also, rolling off the brake a little bit more going into the turn. So it's just got a little bit more, lateral grip to give instead of trying to use it slowing down. So, that's a concept that I just constantly struggle with, is what the tires are doing. And I think I've probably said this on the podcast before. I think part of my problem for that is, growing up in Lemons and and not having any racing experience before that. I mean, not even like autocross really. The penalty for over driving the car in Lemons and going off track is pretty significant, with a black flag and having to, at least come in and explain yourself to the judges. You're missing a couple of laps. So, it makes for safer racing, certainly. But it makes for not speed optimized racing, and so that's been a thing for me over the years, and I just don't have enough time to get out there and just put laps in the real car. So that's where iRacing is helpful, like to work out some of those concepts a little bit and then be able to take it into the car when we go out for, test and tune on Friday in Todd's car and see how it really works. And we're going to have a lot to learn in Todd's car just because you and I have both never driven that car before. And I've driven stick axle cars. I've certainly driven plenty of manual cars, front engine manual cars with the stick axle, but not his. And every car's a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see how it's set up. I think we're on RS4s, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So that'd be that'll at least be a very consistent experience. From that's the tire we've been driving for what, 5 years probably, give or take.
Yeah, I think it's interesting going back to what you're saying about kind of how your origins in racing have influenced your driving. Talking about, so like you came from Lemons where like caution and consistency are king. You'd rather, you don't want to overdrive the car ever. And I come from the opposite, like autocross. There are zero consequences. If you go, careening into a wall of cones, it's fine. And if anything, like that super aggressive style is often, not always, but often rewarded. And so it's interesting how our different backgrounds have led us, kind of to a similar problem. But, the learning opportunity from that, like, is to intentionally do something really different from what feels right and feels normal to you, and see how that translates on your lap time. Like that was it's one of those things, like Ross Bentley always says it. Every race car driver always says it. It's all about like the braking zone and carrying that mid corner speed. Like that is where the lap time is. Yeah. And that, and until you intentionally, like, you go out of your way to approach that from a different angle, you don't get it. Like, I'm really excited, like, just having done this one experiment to go to other tracks and try it again and see what I can learn from it, beyond just, okay, for my fuel stint at Barber, next weekend. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice. And, kind of along those same lines, we all know iRacing is useful for many reasons for your real life racing. For me, it started off like in 2010, learning Sonoma before the first time I went out to Sonoma. And it's great just to be able to know the track layout and really have the track layout memorized before you even, get on the track. But it's super helpful. Like, when the three of us were in the sim the other night and just be able to, as we were doing, lead follows and a little bit of, practice racing around the track, and being able to talk through, well, how are you approaching this turn? Where are you braking? Like for me, especially, and it's a turn I've always really struggled with at Barber, is 11, 12, the short left downhill before the right uphill. And it's a pretty fast complex. And I've always, both in iRacing and in real life, overslowed for that first left-hand turn. But then, being able to go through it with you guys and watch how you were doing it and explaining, here's what I'm doing, and then seeing how it works. At that point, it's not like, we're in different equipment, we're in different environmental conditions, we're in different traffic conditions, all the things that make an apples to apples comparison in real life racing very difficult. It's like we're all on the track at the exact same time. So if your car can do that, my car can do that, because we're all on the same setup. And that was really very helpful. So thank you guys for showing me how you were doing that.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that lead follow session. That was a blast.
Yeah.
Nathan and I got into a few battles before he drove off into the sunset. And
I may have had a few bump and runs on you, so I apologize for those.
No,
that's certainly another nice part about iRacing is the low cost of bent metal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's great. I mean, we must have gone through a few dozen BMW M4 GT4s. That's, in real life, that's extremely expensive.
Yeah, kind of speaking of that, not about BMWs, but Murphy, this week, you sent us that video of the YouTube video, Obsession or Obsessed.
Sure, yeah.
The Lamborghini guys?
Yeah, the Lamborghini guys. So for our listeners who haven't seen this, there's a video. We'll link it in the show notes on YouTube. I think it's Obsessed or Obsession about a Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 team and their 2023 Daytona 24 effort, and it was fascinating and painful, and maybe fascinating because it was painful, but I jumped in and watched the second one because that was the one you recommended, Matt, and then went back and watched the first one. If you haven't seen it, dear listener, watch them in order. Watch the first one first and the second one second, because the first one really informs a lot of what's going on in the second one, especially if I think, Matt, you and I certainly have experienced all of the feels that those guys had at the Daytona 24 with that car in our different races.
Yeah. No, it was they were all very similar feelings, and it's so funny. I mean, it's just like how much cash you have to throw at it, right? This is a Dallas Lamborghini dealership, like fronting some of this cost, and they've got customer guys, and like one of them is like hasn't even driven a car, maybe like is new to this whole like car racing thing, and they send him out in practice at like the Roar before the 24 in a Lambo, like you're hunting for a check at that point, and these are well-heeled dudes, and it's still just nowhere near what you need to pull it off, right? And what did they get, like maybe 2 or 3 races under their belt before they just packed it up?
Two in the season. Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
If for our listeners that haven't seen it, but as Rachel was watching it with me, God bless her that she was like, she didn't even complain at all. And if she said, I don't want to watch another stupid racing video again for as long as we live, I couldn't object. Right. But as we're watching it, when that driver's about to, right before he stuffs it, I said to her, I'm like, he's in the wrong place on the track right there. Like he's never gonna make this turn work. I mean, and especially not the traffic condition that you hear a spotter explaining over the radio. I'm like, this dude would be better off blowing off the bus stop than he would be what he's about to do. And then sure enough. But yeah, it was, I thought the guys running the team and working for the team were very diplomatic in the way that they described that situation.
Yeah.
I thought, that's, in my day job, that's like, there's a real premium on, being able to dance around an issue and kind of let everyone know what's going on without saying exactly what's going on, lest someone get their feelings bent in the process. But, I thought those guys did a really, really masterful job.
Yeah. They were pretty pro about it. They probably, I bet those mechanics have been on some other teams. They probably know what they're doing.
Yeah. And, I think they're running something else this year, but they're not in IMSA GTD.
Yeah.
And, I wonder if that guy with Southwest Funding, who I think he's the one who ended up not being able to race because of the various reasons. I know he's done other stuff because I've seen they're based here too. In fact, they're not far from here, from my house. I wonder if he's in a different car this year. I meant to look up the cars because it wouldn't surprise me if he just bought a seat somewhere else this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Lemons teams even that have given it a shot and then dispersed, and they're probably moved on to other things, right? So
IMSA is just Lemons with more zeros added on the end. It's the same.
Yeah. Lemons, comma, 000, comma, 000.
Sure. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's totally true. Other than at the very sharp end of the spear, right, where those guys are all pros. But yeah. It is always interesting. You guys have probably heard me say this. I haven't said on the podcast before that one of the things I always appreciate about watching the Daytona 24 is seeing professional drivers or drivers with great amounts of experience making the same lemonsy mistakes that get made in the 24 Hours of Lemons at every race. Guys just, and it's not a comment on them. It's a comment on how difficult endurance racing is.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because AutoZone also doesn't carry a spare turbocharger for a Cadillac GTP engine. It's just not available. Same problems.
Same problem. Or the entire Lamborghini Evo 2 kit.
Yeah.
Which neither AutoZone nor Napa nor Lamborghini carry, as it turns out.
Right. Yeah.
We're all the same.
Good stuff.
So Murphy, any garage news from you?
No, not a whole lot. I mean, it's been a garage behind the laptop lately because of the weather, but I wanted to bring up a few things. So I was digging around. I have high intentions of running the Hallett NASA event next year. That's my number one goal. And so digging through NASA and trying to check out their partnerships for next year. They have switched to OG Racing as their major like safety gear supplier and other parts and things like that as their big sponsor. It used to be like competitionmotorsports.com or something like that. But yeah, so they partnered with OG Racing and they built their own store. So it's like you log in as a NASA member, you get all the you get like an OG Racing store that's bespoke to what you'll need to go run in NASA.
Yep.
And you get recommendations, like fire systems, things like that. And there's a decent discount in there, right? And everything's just automatically discounted when you go in there and sign up or sign in, right? So big fan of that new partnership. And so yeah, I was digging around. It looks like there's this like a SPA AFFF fire system. And what I like about it is it's also like it's kind of heavy, but that's fine. I need to actually add some weight to the car anyway. But they service it, right? Like they'll do the recertification and everything at OG Racing, and that's huge for me. Like I don't want to have to go hunt down some, European manufacturer and ship it overseas or something, right? So I love that the service there. But I don't know, Pat. What do we run in Miku? Like, is it that AFFF or is it something else?
Yeah, it's a FireSense AFFF
FFF.
foam.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so that's the foam that gets everywhere and puts the fire out that way versus like the Halon, well not Halon anymore, but the inert gas style.
Mm-hmm.
The Novak system.
Novak, yeah.
No, we run an AFFF system. It's a FireSense. There's actually a company out at Crescent that'll do refreshes on the FireSense bottles. The downside of any of those is that if you get in a time crunch, you can't get it in a time crunch on it. So two things. One, they have to be recertified every 2 years, and you've got to do it before the ticket runs out, right? So you've got to get it to them. Otherwise, it's got to go back to the manufacturer, and they may or may not do it after your time runs out. And the second part is because of hopefully you're sending back a full bottle. Because you haven't had to use it. But the AFFF foam is considered toxic for shipping purposes, on top of the fact that it's a pressurized vessel. So you can't ship it by air. So if you've got to make sure you don't get a time crunch if you have to ship it off to someone to be recertified, because you're going to have to ship it ground the entire way. And conversely, or appropriately, it's got to come back by ground too for you to put back in the car. So that's sort of one of those things that you want to look at, kind of well in advance of an upcoming season, and not get onto, oh shoot, my next race is 2 weeks away and my fire bottle is about to expire. What do I do? Like at that point, it's like, well, you probably just have to buy a new fire bottle to get shipped to you.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like if you get in a crunch, you just buy another bottle. But yeah.
Yeah. But even then, those aren't a lot of, sort of like we've always had this problem, but especially since COVID, like people just don't stock stuff the way they used to locally. Yeah. And so, it's like, oh yeah, we can sell you that. Okay, you can sell it to me, but can you get it to me? It's like, well, you can keep the reservation, right?
Right. A bunch of arbitrage scams out there.
Yeah. Well, it's just even real, motor parts retailers are drop shipping a lot of stuff, especially high dollar stuff like that, and things that have a shelf life, which fire bottles do. So, same thing with harnesses, although harnesses can airship. So it's just
but all that stuff's got to be super fresh.
Yeah. But the warning with the fire bottle is you just got to get ahead, make sure you get ahead of the curve on it a little bit.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. All right. Well,
Matt,
yeah.
have you bought a new one
No,
already?
no,
Okay.
I got one in the cart, but I
What
don't.
what you said you're looking at the SPA one?
Yeah, I think so. Is what it is.
Is that manual only, or is it automatic and manual?
It's got two pulls on it, so I guess it's
Good.
manual.
Yeah. So one thing, okay, a couple of years ago, guy that runs AMT Motorsports, it makes a bunch of parts for Corvette, does a bunch of time trials racing. Guy's name is Mark Petronas. He had a super bad crash. I think we've talked about this on the show before.
Yep.
He had a really bad crash where he was knocked unconscious and the car caught fire, and he had some, I mean, horrendous burns. He has a video he put out a while back talking about that experience and really going on his crusade of saying how important having an automatic system is, because that was for him. It took 5 or 6 minutes for a marshal to get over with the fire extinguisher to put him out while he was sitting in his car on fire, unconscious.
Rough. Yeah.
And yeah, watching that video and like hearing his story like really made me. I think for myself, I deemed that immediately as necessary. It's so actually I never got around to installing it because I kind of quit racing about the same time. But I bought an actual fire bottle, the company branded system, and it is actually the inert gas style, the Halon Novec style. And it has, like you said, it has the manual pull, but it also has the automatic one automatic nozzle, and so it's still a really affordable system. It's under $600 from Jegs for a 5-pound system.
Okay.
And for you but really for anybody, I just, having seen that video and what he went through, and just knowing, you don't buy racing safety equipment on a best case scenario assumption. You assume the worst will happen. Like if we were assuming the best case scenario, we wouldn't put cages in our car because you're not going to need it. You're not going to crash. If you need a fire system, you need it in the worst possible situation.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to preach that gospel to anyone that'll listen of getting one that has the option for automatic. And they're really simple systems. They're not electronic necessarily. Some of them are, I think. But they don't have to be. They can be really simple and still be marginally more expensive than the most basic, foam manual systems out there. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Send me the link.
Yeah, for sure.
Pat, are we running that in Miku at all, or?
No, we're not. I've thought about buying that, but I haven't done that yet. I just transferred over the system that we had in the old one, which is a manual fire pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one other thing that's important, and you don't get this from a lot of the sellers of those fire systems, but it's really important where you're aiming those nozzles. So what I have read over the years, what I've learned from reading over the years, is that on the engine side, where ideally, so you want to run as few nozzles as you can get away with, because every nozzle that you run is going to run full bore until there's nothing left. So, if you've got 4 of them on the engine and 1 on the driver, the engine's going to have great coverage, but your driver doesn't, and vice versa, right? So, I originally, when we first built Miku, before she was even Miku, I had a nozzle on the fuel cell, and it was pretty universally, after then I did some reading. It's like, don't bother. That's not where your fire is most likely to occur. Is back there, and if it is, you're going to get out before it's a problem. Because that's what we're really talking about, is driver safety, right? So I took that one out. We have 2 at the driver, so where and this was actually a Hunter Biederman recommendation when he came over a couple weeks ago to make sure that I needed him to come over so I could fit the harnesses, because he's going to be our shortest driver, because I needed, I'm the largest of our drivers, and I know what Ben's seat setting is, so I can get the seat all the way back for that, but I need to make sure we had the belts adjusted so that it worked for Hunter and for me, basically. And Hunter was saying that in some of the other cars that he's driven, they always have one pointed toward the driver's feet, which makes a lot of sense. So I relocated one of ours from just behind the shifter to in front of the the shift console, basically on the front of the transmission tunnel, pointing sort of down towards the driver's feet. And then I've got one of them back near the rear part of the console, sort of pointing toward the driver's elbow and across the driver. Because what you don't want really is one pointing right at the driver, which is going to blind them as soon as they pull the lever, right?
Right.
And then I've got two in the engine compartment, both basically at the front and rear of the exhaust manifolds, right? Because that's where they say that's where you're really going to have the fire. A lot of times you might want to point one at the fuel rail, but you're unlikely to have a fire at the fuel rail. You have a leak, but not a fire. If you have a fire, it's going to be where that fuel's actually igniting, which is going to be when it gets over to the exhaust manifold side of things. So that was where I kind of optimized, was for those, the two locations that would keep the driver safer and maximize putting out an under engine fire.
Nice.
So
I think there's a little nuance in where you aim them for the different types of systems too. Because I know, like on mine, they talk about like the way it protects the drivers. It just literally just fogs out the entire cabin with this inert gas, so you don't, it what do they say? It fills the entire cabin like 5 times over a 60-second span or whatever. So I mean, there's just no room for it. So I think you get a little more freedom with that. But for the foam, it has to be super directed like you were doing, that's good. That sounds like a pretty good setup for what it is.
Yeah, we did accidentally test it several years ago and found that it does work, even though we weren't on fire. As we were unloading the car after a race, we had forgotten to pin the bottle again, and it got bumped with probably a fuel jug that we were getting out of the back seat or something like that. And it was good. I mean, once that thing goes, it goes. It's not like you have to hold the lever down.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that was exciting. That was like you didn't say hammer once during that episode, but you used the word hose quite a bit. And
yeah. So that's the thing. If you run off your fire system, you want to wash that stuff out as fast as you can, because it's very corrosive.
Yeah.
Not the gas.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm right.
No, you are right.
Okay. Send me a link. I like $500 for an automatic one. Sure, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
I'll look into it. Good stuff. That's all I had for the garage, and I appreciate all of your hot tips before I go buy a fire system and have to deal with.
Hopefully, they're never hot tips.
In this, Ba-ding. I found a soundboard. While we're being soundboardy about all this. There you go. See, it just happened. All right, wrong soundboard. Let's get on to our main topic, guys. What's about to happen? It's the 2024 race season, and it's all happening. And I think we gotta kick it off with a big shout out to our 2023 Racer of the Year, Todd Spickard, who loaded up his CMC Mustang, and headed down to Houston just like clockwork. That guy is unstoppable.
Ridiculous. Consistency.
That's right.
And always improving. Every weekend he goes out and he's telling us, how much better he's getting. I love it. I love Todd.
Yeah. Well, that guy's going to win the championship this year. I guarantee it. He won't need a Racers HQ t-shirt. He's going to have a big old trophy. It's going to be great.
Yeah. At this time next year, he's going to be asking for us to pay him to wear a Racers HQ shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which my answer will be no.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder. So Hallett for 12 Hundo, you can have a lifetime logo at their track. Lifetime, like 17 years or something, they said.
I had the same idea.
You can have a hail bay. What? Hay bale? Boy, howdy. Wow. A hay bale.
That 360 vodka. I think we're seeing how it gets recycled.
Yeah. But yeah, have it wrapped up in the Racers HQ logo. It'd be great. So think about it.
The pinnacle of racetrack safety.
Bale. Yeah.
Is it $1,200 plus you have to provide them with the banner?
Yeah, I'm sure there's loopholes. I don't read contracts. I just wait till implementation and kind of shoot from the hip. Come on, I'm an IT guy.
That's what I've got. That's what we've got the lawyers for. They can read
Yeah.
that stuff.
Read this. Are we cool? Thanks, Ann. Okay. All right. So that's the beginning of the racing season. So that's, I guess, this weekend, and then next weekend is Barber, right?
Yes.
Or
Yeah. Next weekend is Barber. So this weekend is Roar at Daytona or full Daytona? No, Roar was last weekend.
No, it's full Daytona this weekend.
Full Daytona this weekend. Okay.
this weekend. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that a little bit. So you guys are way better fans at talking about IMSA stuff. So take it away, gents.
I'm doing bad. I have not done any of my preseason research. I know that Corvette Racing is no longer factory. It's all customer teams and one sort of pseudo factory team. I know Ford, I think, is sandbagged a whole bunch again with the Mustang, and they're going to get hit with the BOP hammer. And I don't know. That's all I got.
I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement around that Mustang, right? So that's all new this year.
Well, I tell you, Todd's real excited. Todd's got a thing for Mustangs. I tell you what.
Todd's
He's
a
real
Ford
excited
guy.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
Todd's a Ford guy the whole way. Always has been.
I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. I've never been a diehard for any one brand. Like, I love them all. Not all. I love most of them.
I like it. I like a Mustang. I think they're okay for
Well,
what
Mustangs
they
are great, but I'm not. I don't know. I feel like it's a generational thing to be like, I'd die before I drive a Chevrolet. Like that's. I don't know.
No,
Maybe it's just me.
I mean, I might, but I'm not mad about it.
By coincidence, not by design.
You're not the one out buying the Calvin urinating on the Dodge Ram logo to put on the back of your S10.
Mazda, yeah.
Yeah, man, S10, chef's kiss.
Yeah, so the Daytona 24 is this weekend. It's going to be exciting. There's no LMP3 this year. It's just GTP, LMP2, and then the two GT classes, GT Pro and GT Daytona, which is the gentleman
Pro
driver.
and Pro Am. Let's just call it what it realistically is.
Yeah, that's right. The GTD field is much more fleshed out this year. They're in large part because of Porsche has expanded its 963 program. It always had started off that they were going to have a bunch of customer cars, but they just didn't have customer cars ready last year. I think the customers would have been ready if they'd had cars. But so you've got like Proton.
So it was just Penske last year for Porsche, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got several 963s that are being run by customers, and then otherwise it's mostly the same guys as last year, Cadillac and Acura and BMW. But there's a second Cadillac this year, a second. Well, I guess it's not really a second Acura, because there were two Acuras last year, but they're both Wayne Taylor with Andretti this year after the Meyer-Shank debacle last year, which got Meyer-Shank basically they lost their gig with Acura as a result of that.
Oh, right.
At the end of the year last year, which is not what anybody is saying publicly, but is clearly what really happened. So that's going to be interesting. Cadillac's on the pole, and it'll be really interesting to see what just what happens. I think you could probably pretty much throw a blanket over all 10 cars. I don't think there's anybody who's I don't think it's going to be a runaway for anybody from the start.
Do you have any thoughts on the sports cars, like which direction that might go? I mean,
I don't know. So like we started saying, the quote unquote Corvette factory team is no more, but Pratt Miller's still running the two new proper GT3 Corvette C8. What are they?
Mm-hmm.
They're not C8Rs. Z06 GT3R.
Yeah,
that's a name that really rolls right off the tongue.
Not the worst name we're going to get to tonight.
Yeah.
And then Pfaff has swapped from they were a long time 911 team, Porsche team. They've swapped to the McLaren 720 this year, so that'll be interesting. But that means they're not running the plaid scheme on the McLarens, which is kind of sad. We've got there's a lot of different cars. You got Lamborghinis and Astons, and a ton, of course, Porsches, a ton of the new Ferraris. The 296 or
296
Mhm.
something. Yeah.
I was really amazed at how many 296 there are entered for it being the first year for that car.
Good for Ferrari for having a good rollout of that chassis. I mean, I think those are the best looking cars on the grid, and I'm glad they participate.
Yeah. Still got some AMGs out there.
Those
they
are
always
getting old at this point.
Yeah, and they still do well. It's amazing, but you're not going to see an AMG at Le Mans this year. What's happened with the WEC and Le Mans is that basically if you don't have as a manufacturer, a car running in what we call GTP in IMSA, it's LMP in hypercar at the top class at Le Mans, you're not going to have an entry in the GT program. And so Aston has gotten around that by saying, "Oh yeah, look, we're going to have what is it, the Valkyrie or whatever it is."
Valkyrie, yeah, vaporware.
The vaporware car, but they keep putting it out there. But AMG has no, they're not like BSing around like, oh, we might come up with something too. It's like, no, we've got a really vibrant F1 program that is pretty good, and we're gonna keep sticking with that. So,
what they need to do? AMG needs to approach Glickenhaus and do some crazy. I want some crazy badge engineered like Chrysler Mitsubishi partnership of a bunch of Glickenhaus, not AMG GT3s running around. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because Glickenhaus is out now.
Like, but it'd get him back in. I'm sure he'd be excited, and AMG'd be back in the GT3s, sort of, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Van Wall is out. Frank
high hopes.
Fraschini is supposed to be back in. We'll see if that actually happens or not. So Porsche, same thing. Porsche's really expanding their effort in WEC too.
And
backtracking a little. Can we talk about the Cheaty Mustangs?
Yeah.
What's the story there?
Cheaty Mustangs.
I just saw the headline. I was quick to.
What's the headline?
Again, they did
recite the headline for us.
Well, Ford is a bunch of cheaters again. They did it in 05 with the original GT. They did it in 2018 with the second GT, and now they're doing it again with the new Mustang. They're just a bunch of sandbaggers at the all through testing, and then they show up at the Roar and at Daytona with these super hot cars.
I mean, that sounds smart. That's what I would do. Yeah.
So did they get hit with a BOP adjustment today?
I don't know. I don't know if it's come out yet. I mean, surely they will, though. I think the word was that they were quite a bit quicker, but I don't know the details, unfortunately.
Rubble.
Young man yells at clouds. I don't know. Whatever I am.
Yeah, but that was the same thing with the GT40 GT, right? When it came back in whenever that was 2017, and everybody it was almost an open secret. Like, oh yeah, they're sandbagging, but look, Ford's back and they've got all this history, and so it's not such a big deal, right? I mean, some would say the same thing happened with Ferrari at Le Mans last year, right? Like, oh look, it's their first year back in prototype racing in 40 years or whatever it is. So yeah, maybe we look the other way, that they're faster than Toyota, which won the WEC championship pretty much going away. Like, I think the only race Toyota maybe didn't win was Le Mans.
Yeah. Cheaters.
Okay, motorsport.com 4 hours ago, Mustangs get hit with a 15 kilo adjustment. That's a lot.
That's like 30 pounds.
Yeah. That's a crazy amount for IMSA, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, they're usually like a 2 or 3 kilo adjustment is like what they get. So they must have...
That
It's like
seems like
2 kilos and 0.3 of a millimeter on the air restrictor or something.
Yeah.
like
So
that.
the next most aggressive adjustment was the Ferraris. They got a 10 kilo and a 5 horsepower decrease.
5 horsepower sucks. Wow, I mean, I think I'd rather take 20 kilos, but
Yeah, especially
anyway.
at Daytona, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
That's wild.
So I
So
don't
they
know. We'll
let
see
it-
where it shakes out.
So they've been through quali and everything,
So
Yeah,
yeah,
they
the
did quali
Roar, the
last
final
weekend.
session at Roar is sets the field for this
and
weekend.
then they smack them, and then
And
they
then
have
they
to go
smack
race.
with the BOP hammer. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't approve of this.
It's BOP racing. Like that's just how it works. You get too good, you're gonna get hammered.
I'm so glad I run in a real racing series every other year.
The dollar adjustment series.
Yeah.
That's amateur. Yeah.
Speaking about the Roar before the 24 and going back in time, I wanted to give a shout out to Bryce Cornett. He was out there running an MX5, and he got the Hard Charger Award. So,
All
hometown
right.
hero, Bryce Cornett. And just for some context, we've talked about this cat before, but he's like 5-time like a Formula Mazda national champion, has probably hundreds of track lap records, things like this. And that's how competitive that class is. Like this guy's with like a top team. He's not winning races. No.
No,
Like,
there's
if
some
you wanna
unbelievable talent in MX5 Cup.
Yeah, it's wild. So check out some MX5 Cup. I'm excited for the 2024 season. And full disclosure, I haven't watched the race yet, so I look forward to going and checking that out. But I'm sure it's cool. Some cool drafting.
They're usually
at least.
broadcast live and for free on the MX5 Cup YouTube page, if I remember correctly. So or they
Yeah,
were last year.
I
Yeah.
saw that pop up on my feed earlier today. Like, six. I'm just going to call them Miatas going
Mhm.
around the banking.
Yeah.
Two wide in 3-car trains, like nose to tail, right? Like,
Oh yeah, they'll go through the bus stop 3 wide, nose to tail, the whole time. It's just crazy. It's the most
nuts.
ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
Yeah. And it's fun to have a dog in the fight, right? Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know most of those guys, so it's just cool to see somebody out there. But then, okay, so that's where you find MX5 Challenge. Is that what it's called?
MX5 Idemitsu MX5
Idemitsu. Where do we find the race this weekend, gentlemen? 12:30 Central, NBC,
Peacock?
and then
NBC?
Peacock.
Okay.
Peacock, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you can get over the air race coverage, which doesn't happen a lot. I love some over the air race coverage. It's olden times.
Like what? Probably the first 2 hours and the last hour,
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
so. Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure the IMSA Radio Le Mans guys will be out if you're feeling old school, you want to just go radio. Honestly, I prefer them over the NBC broadcast.
Sure.
You can so last year, the NBC broadcast it's acceptable, it's fine. The Radio Le Mans guys are so much better though. Go ahead, get your free trial. Wait till the day of. Get your free trial of a VPN service and set your location to Germany or something so you can watch the international broadcast on online because it's the same footage, but the commentary is so much better.
You have to speak German.
No, it's still the English. It's the Radio Le Mans. It's the regular crew.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Shea Adam in the pits and John. Oh,
Heinbaugh.
his name escapes me, but the guy. He's the guy with the voice.
Yeah, John Heinbaugh.
Hi,
All right. So after I get my VPN, where am I going? What am I viewing? Is it Radio Le Mans that I'm watching on the internet?
Actually, I think you get it for free on IMSA TV internationally.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Maybe.
So.
Maybe. Allegedly.
If you're on a shady stream. Okay.
No, that would be legitimate. Other than the VPN and fake location part.
That's what I meant by shady.
Yeah.
No, I don't mess with that stuff. Okay.
This weekend.
Guys, we're 50 into this hot pod, but you know what? We've got one more topic here. We got the 2024 season coming up, and I know the hot topic on everybody's mind is stupid names for teams. So I don't know, Pat, you got something?
You broke up for me.
Sorry.
You were announcing the topic. No, it's okay.
Stupid names for F1 teams, Pat.
Stupid names for
topic.
F1 teams. Oh, yeah. What is the not Alfa Romeo team this year? The
Visa Cash App RB.
No, that's Alpha Tauri. You're
Alpha
talking
Tauri.
about the the Team Kick gambling F1 by Sauber or something or other. I don't know. This is the year of the worst names of all time.
I
So
want
here's
one of,
something.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. I
No,
want
go
one of
ahead.
the announcers to just like dig into this, right? And just like somehow make that crap roll off his tongue. You know, to where, you know, you're just like, you're talking about the start of the race, you know? And it's like, and there's a Visa Cash App RB driven by Yuki Tsunoda going on the inside.
Here it is. Stake F1 team, Kick Sauber F1 racing team. That is the full title. David Croft is going to have to roll that off like 15 times a race.
Well, except what he'll do by the third race is he'll be like, I don't want these guys on camera again until they're in the barrier.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Okay.
Just don't show them.
Right. Which will be easy because they'll be in the back, you know, the last, you know, in the last 6 cars the entire season anyway.
And I don't know what you do that one. At least the other one, what is it? Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, like VCARB. Cool. I'm good with that. I can live with that acronym.
So
I don't know what you do.
Is the Cash App owned by Visa now? Is that the case? Sounds like it.
I mean, it's inevitable, sure. Yeah.
The financial singularity is still out there.
Oh yeah.
So I looked at a list earlier today, and I thought this would be maybe a good conversation starter for us here of 10 hot topics or hot questions about the upcoming Formula One season. So
hit me with it, Pat.
New cars are starting to drop, right? And like McLaren kind of snuck theirs in a little bit, and the rest of them are right around the corner. So question number 1, what if AMG's big change fails?
And they'll still be third. They'll just be a comfortable third place once again.
Yeah, I agree with Nathan.
Okay, so that
is not a sexy answer. I'm sorry.
No, that falls in with the next question. I'm taking them a little bit out of order from the list, but can McLaren really be a front runner for a full season?
No.
I just can't see. That's the thing. So that's why Mercedes ends up cozy third, because there's no way a McLaren or
Alpine,
no, Aston Martin's still Aston Martin. There's no way they can hang on for a full season. There's just no way.
I'm going to take the contrary view on McLaren and say I think McLaren could be a front runner for the full season and really challenge Ferrari and AMG, and frankly Red Bull. I mean, you know, Red Bull could stub its toe. We haven't seen that in the last couple seasons, certainly not last year, right? They're absolutely dominant last year, but you know, for how many seasons in a row was AMG absolutely dominant? Like 6 years, and then the rules changed and they got it wrong. And I mean, you know, Red Bull could theoretically get something wrong, and then we'd have something interesting.
I suppose, you know, I'd like to amend my statement a little with my McLaren blasphemy, because I am a relatively new F1 fan. I only started watching in like 2018, just before Drive to Survive. I will say that. But I missed the Hamilton McLaren, you know, excellence, and obviously the McLaren excellence of the, you know, the 80s. So for older fans, you may think I'm a lunatic for saying they can't possibly hold it together, but I don't know. That's how I feel as a newer fan to the sport.
In this environment, in that environment, there wasn't a factory Mercedes team, right? So I think that's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, Pat, I don't see Red Bull doing anything wrong aside from maybe doing things slowly, right? Like, you know, they've got the additional restrictions now.
Yeah.
It might just be more of a conservative approach. And it's my understanding that Mercedes, I mean, I'm sure they're working really hard on that car, but they're looking for some significant operational improvements, faster pit stops. They're trying to not be afraid of screwing up a pit stop, right? Maybe taking some more risks, or at least they're doing some risk mitigation to try to improve that performance. So I don't know. I feel like they're looking everywhere, at least. But this is silly season, and there's nothing else to talk about. No drivers or moving teams or anything. All we can talk about is operational efficiency.
Yeah, so that's something amazing. I had not realized this. We've never seen this before, right? That first off, no driver changes in the off season. That's apparently never happened in Formula One season before. But it's definitely not going to happen in the coming off season between 2024 and 25 because the following drivers are all on contracts that expire at the end of this season. Checo, Carlos, both of the Alpine drivers, Gasly and Ocon, both of the Stake F1 Gambleaholics Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Kick by Team Sauber F1 team.
Right. Bottas and Guan Yu. Both of the Haas drivers, Magnussen and Hulkenberg. Fernando, Lance Stroll, who really knows? I mean, Daddy still owns the team.
Yeah, Lance isn't going anywhere.
Until Daddy doesn't own the team, because that's the big
Mhm.
thing. Like
Mhm.
maybe he's selling out, right? And then Ricardo and Sonoda are both on 2024 contracts, and both of the Williams drivers, Albon and Sargent. So
That's crazy. That's a
yeah.
lot.
Right. So we're going to go from a season where we have no movement to a season where we have all movement, nearly all movement, right?
Yeah.
It's like who's not going to move is Max and Charles.
Yeah,
Lewis,
Charles just re-signed again for a contract even well beyond the next few
Yeah,
years, I think.
29 or something like that.
Yeah.
His contract.
Contract's contract.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair point.
Yeah, Lewis, who knows? He's like on, I mean, he supposedly has an extension, but maybe he's on a year to year, or he just retires, or he says, screw it, I want to go race Dakar or whatever.
Mhm.
And then who? Lando and Piastri are both on, both have one more years on theirs. But there's the big talk about, Lando could, get a buyout on his last year and go to who knows where.
Well,
Yeah,
where
I
does
don't.
he go? I mean, he's not.
I don't see Checo lasting in that environment.
No, Checo's
way.
gone. There's no way.
Mm-mm.
I mean, but okay.
Yeah.
If you're Carlos Sainz, Carlos needs to resign at Ferrari. Because he's, I don't see him going to Red Bull and succeeding. Lando, Lando's at the top. I don't know. Piastri's pretty strong, but like, where does Lando go? Your only option is to go to Red Bull vertically, like to move up, right? Is to go to Red Bull and then get your teeth kicked in by Max because nobody can touch the man. Like that is not promising.
Unless Lewis retires.
Yeah,
I could see Lando at Merck. That'd be more natural.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That'd be fun to watch those two together, George and Lando.
What other hard-hitting questions?
Brit on Brit violence and a German machine.
Yeah,
be like some weird, blitzkrieg.
It's all. I mean, if you think about the World War II implications of F1, it all gets really weird really quickly.
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah. Especially like with the I mean, nearly all the teams are running out of England now, including AMG, right? But except Toyota, back when they were still in, they were running out of Cologne, which is a big part of the problem. Like, who wants to move to Cologne when everybody else is in England or Modena?
Well, and then Haas is split in half. They're half in England, half in Mooresville.
And half in Italy.
Wait, they have three halves?
150% of a team, and they still end up in 10th place?
Oh, yeah, because they have their department down at Firenze or whatever.
With Ferrari.
Ferrari, whatever. Whatever they are.
Ferrari or Delar or whoever it is that they've got their offices with.
Same. It's all one complex, one compound.
Yeah. So that's crazy. All right. So what if, I think we all know the answer to this. What if Ferrari's progress stalls once again?
Just more heartbreak we don't want. I want to see them succeed. I just want them to quit shooting themselves in the foot and just go and win some freaking races.
That has to be the most toxic atmosphere in motorsports, right? Other than anything around Kurt Busch.
I have no passion for business management and like leadership structures and leadership strategy. I could not care less. But like, except when it comes to Ferrari, those guys need to figure something out. And if it takes, like, if I need to come help them, I'll read some books. It'll be fine. But it's so hard to watch. Those drivers are so talented, and that car is super good enough. Like, at least certain tracks, they should win, and they just can't do it. And it's frustrating. And it's going to give my dad a heart attack. He joined F1 2 or 3 years ago and decided to be a Ferrari fan, and that was the wrong time to become a Ferrari fan.
Yeah, he needed to become a Ferrari fan back in about 1965.
Yeah.
They've had their moments.
They have. All
What
right.
else you got?
So, does another Aston setback send Alonso into retirement, or does he just kill Lancey?
I don't know what Alonso's going to do. I mean, I feel like I could see him just walking away. But I could also see him just sliding down the tier all the way until he, gets down to Williams or Alpha Tower. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone.
don't you? It's kind of like a hobby
Williams
at this
is
point.
improving. Yeah, this is just what he does. This is just who it is. He's just going to ride that ladder all the way to the bottom and then fade into obscurity.
So, not that he's at any risk of losing his seat, but Max. I saw something the other week that Max is really serious about starting up a sports car empire, basically. And so, how about that? Like in 2 years, it's Max, Alonso, and Jimmy Guidi or something in a
Oh, I think
an
that's
Aston
perfect.
or-
Yeah.
That'd be phenomenal.
Like, well, it wouldn't be in an Aston. I mean, they'd be like in a 963, like a customer 963 or something like that. Like, Max Verstappen Racing, Red Bull sponsored, hypercars.
Yeah, I'm here for that. I would probably find Max to be acceptable as a human being when that happens. Right now, he's just my mortal enemy. But
What if it
I
was?
think,
What if it was Max, Alonso, and Hamilton all in the
hey,
same
I'm
car?
I'm here for that. That sounds fun. I want Max in a sports car. Yeah, sharing it with a team. Yeah, I'd much rather see that environment. Yeah,
that could be its own reality series, right? Like
Mhm.
just the Max Verstappen sports car experience, Real Housewives of Max Verstappen Racing, something like that.
It'd be like
It'd
Laverne
be
and Shirley
like,
and
Alonso has 2, Max has 3, Hamilton has 7.5. So is that like 13? Yeah, 12 championship racing or something. I don't know. They'd have something. Yeah.
Let's workshop that. Let's circle back.
Well, yeah, we'll come back to that one. I'll do the math and I'll figure it out later.
Matt Murphy's been in a lot of pro business meetings lately. If he just threw circle back out too casually.
Yeah.
He wants to put a pin in that topic.
Put a pin in it.
All right. Will the Audi Works team stall out before it hits the grid in 2026?
No.
I hope not. I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Andretti get in too, just for the absolute hell it would cause. That'd be great.
I don't see the market viability of Formula One in the next 5 years, to be quite honest, but we'll see.
Is this the peak? Have we hit the peak? Is this like Bitcoin at 70,000 and like we're about to like come crashing down?
I might sound like a libtard, but I think we've seen peak combustion engine, and I think crazier things are going to show up sooner than later.
Yeah, except Formula E still just blows chunks.
I get that. Yeah. And as time passes, things change.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe we'll have Formula Tesla.
Oh, gross. Yeah.
I like electric cars. I don't like Tesla.
So, sort of related off of that topic, off of something that you guys said, is Formula One facing a civil war with a breakaway series, given the position of Formula One being generally opposed to new teams and FIA being generally supportive of adding teams?
Oh, we're talking about like a split, like a kart IRL. Oh no, no.
It's always just a bargaining point.
Yeah, you could never. There's not enough tracks. There's not enough dates. There's not enough money and sponsors, and nobody's going to give a crap about whatever new series tries to stick its head up. There's no way. F1 is too established. It's like the XFL. Like, get out of here. That's not going to work. You're not going to beat the NFL. Forget it.
Yep, I agree.
All right. What happens, if anything, if Haas is last again? Does anything consequential happen in Formula One if that occurs?
I think these guys are humming along with their franchise letting that increase in value. I probably listen to too many economist podcasts, but what I feel like we're in a F1 bubble right now. Like the, all these teams at the bottom are just humming along, trying to build their brand value. And if they're smart, they're going to get out in like 3 years.
You think that's what Gene's looking for?
Yeah. So, Nate, are you
No, I
mute
just
or?
the podcast that I've heard, the people that know, or who was it? Missed Apex talked
Mhm,
to one of their guys is close friends with Gunter Steiner, but he
mhm.
was talking about Gene just doesn't want to sell. Like he just wants to hold it
Yeah,
indefinitely. And over the years, he's had, I mean, crazy offers to buy the team outright. He's had offers to do huge sponsorship for a portion of the team or things like that, and
mhm.
he just isn't interested. He wants to own an
Interesting.
F1 team, and he wants to spend as little of his own money as he can, but he doesn't mind spending some of it.
Hmm. That's good
Yeah,
insight.
like the whole thing with Gunther was like after or during COVID or after COVID, it was like, buddy, you got to go out and find the money to run this thing because I'm not diming up on this anymore, right? And that was where
Yeah,
Gunther was like, well, yeah, but I should be getting some equity in that. Gene's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. You have a job. That's what you should be working for.
yeah. So it sounds like he's just gonna hold it until he gets bored. I mean, I'd love to see him sell it to Andretti or something, or a Porsche or something. That'd be great. That'd be great. Michael Andretti would just
Yeah,
rub everybody the wrong way. It'd be so entertaining to watch.
I think that's a nice natural path as opposed to adding another team.
Yeah, but he's not going to do it. It doesn't look like based on all outward indicators.
Yeah. Hmm.
I wonder
Interesting
who else has
stuff.
offered to buy it from him. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I know there have been offers. I just don't know
VJ
who.
Malia.
Make it
Jeff
make
Bezos.
a new Kingfisher Racing.
The stories of that guy are just wild. I just love it. Anyway, it's
Didn't
good
you
stuff.
send us a documentary or something about him?
Yeah, he's on like Crazy Rich Indians or something. He's like the first episode, something like that. It's on Netflix, I think.
Wow,
I don't know. Anyway, but yeah,
awesome.
What a
Well,
world.
Pat, thanks for the little F1
a little quiz.
conversation sparkers. I don't know. I'm ready for the season to actually get underway. We can actually have something to talk about that's not just speculation, but
Yeah, when
we'll
does
see.
when do we have testing start? Do you know?
I don't know, but they're all sandbagging anyway, so testing's irrelevant.
Sandbagging in the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't bring facts at this podcast. We bring opinions.
Oh, but now here's an interesting consideration. The interesting global geopolitical issue that could impact Formula One is the shipping crisis in the Red Sea, right?
Mm,
Because you have to imagine that well, I guess most of that stuff's air freight, right? It's not,
hmm
they're not shipping it. But like, for example, the what's the name of the series? The Creventic 24-hour series was supposed to have their season opener 2 weeks ago at either I think at Abu Dhabi, um, and because of shipping difficulties related to not being able to utilize the Suez Canal because of other backups that are occurring there, they had to shift the race 2 weeks to this weekend, and so that
Hmm.
caused some problems for drivers who were going to be driving in that series and the Daytona 24.
Right.
So I mean, I would guess that some stuff for Formula One ships by slow boat, right? I mean, like you're not going to send everything by air. Some of your stuff, the big heavy stuff, like your paddock packages and stuff like that, that's got to go by container ship, right? I
They
wonder
have
if we're going to
time for
see.
that? I mean, they got races every other week, it seems like. I don't.
Yeah, but you just have two or three packages, right? I mean, it's like the big concert tours. Like, when U2 goes on a global tour, they don't just have one stage. They've got like three separate stage packages. And so, that one packs up in Osaka and goes on to the ship, and then it gets unloaded in Cape Town, right? It's not like, and then they do, three shows in Australia with an Australia package that's, leapfrogging. And so I suspect that's got to be the same for Formula One. They don't just have one, one paddock setup that's everywhere. They have a couple of them.
Hmm.
So I wonder if
Global shipping logistics.
Yeah, never thought about that.
Boom.
Good thing I'm not in charge.
But last year we had a race interrupted by a terrible flood. I mean, we're gonna have interruptions. Yeah.
Didn't we also have a race not interrupted by missile strikes? Was that last year or was that the year before?
Missile strikes.
That's right. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah. It was the Jeddah street race.
Ah, yes.
Well, and we had a race interrupted by war, as in we do not have a Russian Grand Prix anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
Interruptions. And then we got, is it the same races in the U.S. next year? We've got Miami, Vegas, and Austin.
Yep. But the biggest race schedule Formula One's ever had, we're going to have 24 races this season, which is insanity. Right?
Poor crew guys.
Yeah, maybe they need an AB crew or something. Come on, step your game up. Yeah.
I don't have the funding for that. Cost cap, man. How many mechanics do you think they can hire?
Yeah,
you can only hide so much. You can only hide so much stuff in catering.
Yeah. Right. No more prawn Sammys for you.
That's right. Yeah. It's going to be all Vegemite and wilted lettuce.
Yeah.
Ricardo would be happy.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm pretty sure that's what. No, lost it. Okay, cool. Well, guys, I think I feel like we've made a podcast. This has been fun. I'm gonna go make some chicken noodle soup now because that's my life. Yeah. But
are you a little under the weather?
No, I'm just just cooking up chicken stock and
the soup enthusiast.
I'm a stock enthusiast, really.
Can you imagine Soup Enthusiast magazine? Like
I like
the dullest magazine in the history of culinary magazines.
Jay used to edit that one, didn't he?
I think he did.
I thought so.
Listen,
right alongside Corvette magazine and Fiera Monthly.
If my soup stock isn't solid at room temperature, I'm not eating it.
You got all the bones, all the collagen in there.
Yeah, it's good
the
for
Matt Murphy Throwdown. There's the next Racers HQ spinoff, the Matt Murphy Culinary Throwdown.
That's right. Aspic recipes for you and your family.
Well, on that note.
Well, hopefully. So let's see. Next week we won't have a Barber pod recap, but the week after we could do a Barber recap.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Check us out next week for actual content. It's been a blast though tonight, guys. Just documenting our journey through motorsports and the beginning of the 2024 racing season, and I'm really looking forward to it. Nathan, you got any shout outs?
No shout outs, but it has been a joy just going down the buffet line of motorsports topics and getting a little scoop of everything with you two. Always a joy.
That's right. It's like mashed potatoes and Jello and chicken
egg
piccata,
rolls.
Right? An egg roll. Yeah, a little bit of spaghetti and meat sauce.
Dipping your steak fingers in the mashed potatoes and gravy.
Perfect. Couldn't think of a better Wednesday night?
Ice cream and a cone for dessert.
Right. All on the same plate.
It's like freshman year all over again.
Yeah. Yummy. Pat, you got anybody to shout out to other than the cafeteria lady?
Cafeteria lady at North Central High School, go Panthers, and Todd Spickard, thank you in advance for preserving your car through the Houston NASA race so that we have something to race in at Barber. I'm really looking forward to the weekend with Todd and Ethan and Nate and Hunter B and Eric Strawn is coming along for moral and logistic support. It's going to be a fun time, I hope.
I am totes jelly. That actually sounds like a blast. So good luck, gentlemen. And yeah, Todd, we're rooting for you this weekend. You're my number one driver this weekend. I don't care about any of these GTD guys or whatever the heck they are. We're here for CMC racing at NASA in Houston and subsequent Barber racing. So go Todd, go Mustang, go Racers HQ. Pat, Nathan, thank you so much for your time tonight. Like and subscribe, rate and review, and we'll see you at the track. Bye,
Good
guys.
night.